Hey, what's going on, everyone? So it looks like there's been some breaking news from Nintendo, and it looks like they're going to be releasing some hardware this fall. Now, let me just quickly read the tweet to you. It says here from Nintendo of Europe, meet the newest addition to the Nintendo Switch family, releasing 8th of October, Nintendo Switch OLED model, brings the versatility of the Nintendo Switch experience with a new vibrant 7-inch OLED screen, a wide adjustable stand, and more. So I'll play the video for you, the video from the Nintendo Switch YouTube channel. But essentially, there was a rumored 4K version before E3 that there were rumors that was going to come out this year, but it looks like this is not that version. So this is going to have pretty much the same internals as the regular Nintendo Switch, except it's going to have that OLED screen plus a few other features that we'll get into in just a bit. But if you're wondering whether there was a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro, this is not really it. It's just an updated screen. And I guess for all of the people who bought Switch recently, like myself, I bought a Switch Lite. I think you'd be okay to know that this is not like the next model. And whatever you bought, if you bought a Switch Lite or a regular Switch, I think you'll be more than fine with that. Okay, let me play you the trailer, and then I will come back and discuss all the features.
Chasing lights, we make our own fun throughout the night. We're gonna feel this good forever. Such heights we reach together. Running out of light, stepping in time, tread our own path, we won't fall down. Now.
Okay, let's talk about some of the features of this new model, and it has a 7-inch OLED screen, and the previous model had a 6.1-inch LCD screen, and that's going to make a huge difference. Even though it doesn't sound like a lot, it's only bigger by 1 inch. The Switch Lite was 5.5 inches, and there's a huge difference between the Switch Lite and the Switch, the regular Switch. And it almost makes it feel like the 5.5-inch version is the portable version, whereas the 6.1-inch version is the one that you would play at home, because it just makes it feel so much bigger. So with a 7-inch screen, it's just going to feel a whole lot bigger again. Now, in terms of whether an LCD or an OLED is better, I would say that the OLED would probably have better colors, especially with the technology these days. It's not like the Vita where the OLED was still in its infancy, so the colors were slightly not calibrated as well as they are today. So I think the 7-inch OLED screen is going to look really good. That said, there's nothing wrong with the LCD screens on either of the two models. I've got both and I play with both and they look great. They look just as good as my iPhone 10R. I think the 10R looks better, but the LCDs are perfectly fine on those. Now, one thing I didn't like in the regular Switch was the bezels on this thing, and maybe I just turn it on for you to have a look, but I don't know if you can see it, but I think a lot of people already know that there's huge bezels around the side of the Nintendo Switch, and it almost makes it feel like that this thing is extra wide. So that's what I didn't like about it. I mean, this was essentially like a 6-inch screen on like an 8-inch body. And it was also quite thick, but that was because it had active cooling in there. There's a fan inside here, so that's why it's a little bit thicker as well. So overall, when this released, the regular Switch, I almost felt like that this thing was something that could have been released like 5 years earlier, like a tablet that released 5 years late. But it looks like with this 7-inch OLED model, the size, the body is going to be the same because it has to fit with the old Joy-Cons. So the Joy-Cons are still going to be the same, but at least you get rid of the bezels on this thing and the viewing experience is going to be much nicer. Some other things they mentioned was a wide adjustable stand. So previously on the Nintendo Switch, you had a really flimsy little stand on the back there. I don't know if you can see that. But the webcam is a little bit small, but like it's just very tiny. And that really was more of a opening to get to the SD card. But now, as you can see in the picture here, it goes along right down the back of the Nintendo Switch. And I think that's a much better design. It also has a built-in wired Lan port, and I think this is a great addition because it's not a very costly addition for Nintendo, but it's going to help a lot of people because the Wi-Fi on this thing is absolutely shocking. Like this Wi-Fi here could have been Wi-Fi from 10 years ago, and I'm talking like 2008, like not 2011. The Wi-Fi here is so slow and the distance is so short. So I'm glad they're putting in a wired Lan port. Let's hope they put in a new wireless model in there as well, a new Wi-Fi chip. So because on both the Switch Lite and the regular Switch, the Wi-Fi is pretty bad. They've also included 64 gigabytes of internal storage. The previous models had 32 gigabytes, so that's a welcome addition. And I think for $50 extra, I think the Lan port and also the 64 gigabytes internal storage and also the OLED screen, I think that's pretty good value. So like if you were going to buy a new Switch, then you would definitely buy the OLED version. Just seems like better value for money. It also has enhanced audio as well. And they didn't say too much about that, but obviously I guess it's going to sound better. But they didn't say it has Bluetooth, and I know a lot of people want Bluetooth on this thing. You can get a dongle for it to plug into the USB-C port, but you really shouldn't have to have that, especially in 2021 when there's a lot of people with wireless headphones and you still don't have Bluetooth audio. Doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't think they're going to add it. Otherwise, I would have said so. But yeah, you get enhanced audio speakers. And finally, with the OLED model, of course, it's going to be like the Switch Lite. It's going to be like the regular Switch. So you're going to be able to use it in TV mode, tabletop mode, and handheld mode. And of course, they're going to be reusing the old Joy-Cons. So it's going to have the same body, same shape, so that it fits with these Joy-Cons. I think that's a good idea anyway, because this is still the same generation, so you should be able to use all of your old accessories. Finally, I think I mentioned the price already, But the Nintendo Switch OLED model is $350. The Nintendo Switch, the regular one, is $300, and the Nintendo Switch Lite is $200. Now, this is super interesting, and honestly, for me, I would either get the Nintendo Switch OLED model. I wouldn't worry about the regular Nintendo Switch. I think for $50, I think all of these upgrades on the new one are worth it. And yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the regular one unless you get it on some really cheap discount. Maybe you can get it for like say $200 where they're clearing it out. Then I would that would make sense because that would be $150 less than the OLED model. I don't think the OLED would be worth $150. Or you can get the Nintendo Switch Lite, which I have done, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't. They didn't release a 4K model because I would probably have to get that as well. But the Nintendo Switch Lite doesn't look like it's obsolete by this new OLED model. And I think there's still a lot of use for this Nintendo Switch Lite at $200. And it's so cheap to get into the Nintendo Switch that I recommend the Nintendo Switch Lite as a secondary device if you already have a Nintendo Switch, because I think everybody can do with 2 switches for multiplayer anyway. Quite a few multiplayer games. But in terms of getting it as your first Switch, getting the Switch Lite as your first Switch, I'd probably only get that if you are a single player person. So you don't have any other you don't have family that you want to play the Switch with, and you're just going to be playing by yourself, then the Switch Lite would make sense in that case. But if you have family and you have kids or you have someone to play with, then I would definitely go with the other models because you can detach the Joy-Cons and play multiplayer out of the box with that console. Okay, so that's a look at the Nintendo Switch OLED model. Let me know what you think. Are you going to pick up a Nintendo Switch this holiday? And let me know what you think about the Nintendo Switch versus the Switch OLED model. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. If you like this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.